Listen to
This is a brave man.
Inside SA Soccer with Brad Jakes, exclusive to Omnisport, where Africa comes to play.
Now that's a garage match.
Listen live now and on demand at omniaudio.africa.
Good morning and welcome to Inside SA Soccer with me, Brad Jakes. It's my favorite part of the week. It's Blast from the Past Thursday, where I get to sit with players that I've seen over the years, players that I enjoyed watching. And today I have one of those, a very special player, somebody who very unique in football. You don't find them like him. Ricardo Katza, former captain of SuperSport United. He's captained Bafana Bafana. He played for 7 Stars. Every time I see him, my heart dances because he's a very special player, and you will find out. He's here with me this morning. Ricardo Katza, welcome to Omnisports. Welcome to Inside SA Soccer with Brad Jakes. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Brad Jakes, thank you so much to all the listeners. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
It warms my heart as well. You know, that someone can speak about you while you're sitting here, because we don't hear a lot of those things. You know, so I'm so grateful for being here.
Yeah, listen, a lot of people know you as this good defender, this guy who captained SuperSport to trophies and championships. Yeah. And that's beautiful. You are a football player. You made your mark.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I know you, but I know of you. Yeah. And the one thing that always stood out for me was that you are a Christian. You and I've seen it in the way you carried yourself. Yeah. I remember one year we had an event in, I think, First Loras. Remember, we were giving kids, balls and things, and you came and you spoke to the kids, just sharing your story and just inspiring them. It was beautiful. My son was there. We took pictures, and he never said, Uncle Ricardo, Uncle Ricardo. So yeah, I don't want to say you're my favorite player, but you're one of my favorite people.
I'll take that.
You did not play for the club that I like. So, but anyway, listen. The one thing that strikes me about that fact is that you were not born into a Christian family. How did that come about? How did you move from being in an Islam family, from being a Muslim to a Christian? Because it's something it's a beautiful thing for us who are Christians when somebody gets converted and they come to know of God and Jesus. How did that happen, and how did your family take your finding Jesus, or Jesus finding you?
Yeah, that if you I know everyone knows me as a footballer, but if that didn't happen, I was not going to be a footballer. I was probably not going to be here today. So only I'm 46, turning 47. Only when I was 40 years old, about 6 years ago, I actually found out what really happened when I was born, or before I was born. So I'm so grateful for my dad, Muslim dad, Muhammad Zain, my mom, Christine Marman. So obviously, I always thought that there was different reasons why they never got married. So I always thought it was a religion, like, that the one didn't want to change for the other one and all those things. But then I found out something and don't want to go into it for that much. And then it's like, oh, okay, so that is what happened. And then someone said to me, then why don't you go back now to your parents and ask them, like, why, And I said, like, I'm 40 years old. Like, I don't want to go back 40 years, to something that happened that I had no control of. And this is what I said. But what I do have a little bit control of is my wife and my kids. So I didn't want to go back and go back to something that I good recollection about, So, but it did start. I grew up in between the two houses. My dad Muslim, my mom Christian. Okay. So, in the week with my mom or with my grandparents, and then on the weekend with my dad. Yeah. So in the week, there's holy life because of Christianity, and then with my dad on the weekend, with all my friends, it's just anything goes.
Yeah.
But I think more also my dad just wanted me to be around. The nice thing about, even though they were not together, my dad was always present. Yeah. I never felt like he was not there for me. But God has also given my mother husband at the time, Freddie Marman. He passed on about a year or so ago. And the scary thing was when I was at his funeral, I felt like closer to him than my own dad. My own dad was in the crowd, but I had so much love for this guy because he never made me feel like I was not his child. So at 5 years old, he took me in with my mom, and all I know that it was dad. I called him dad. So dad and my own dad.
That's nice.
You know, so growing up in between those things, and I think the nice thing, and I always talk about it, is that twice a year I knew I'm gonna get brand new clothes for the Muslim, you know, their Christmas, and then for Christmas, you know, so you had new clothes. But then growing up, I was always in between the two, you know. So only in December 1996, so my sister Pam, I've got two siblings, a step from my stepdad. She invited me. But before that, she wanted to commit suicide, and she took tablets, and something happened. And I remember that morning, my mom called me like at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, "Hey, your sister has taken this." And she actually passed on. And then she was, at that moment, there was a time when she was
just essentially gone.
And then she came back, and then obviously, when my mom called me, I remembered I went back to sleep like as if there was no phone call. Like I had no emotions at the time. Finished school in 95. And then for just that year and a half, that almost 2 years, I was just on the streets, you know, not like living on the streets, but I was just out in the streets. Didn't have ambitions, never wanted to play football. I was 14. I started playing football when I was 12. At 14, I retired because I had enough. Then I stopped playing. So from 14 to 20, I didn't have any academy. There was no football, nothing. Like I didn't play football. I didn't do anything. But on the 29th of December 1996, I was invited by these two girls, Janine and Crystal. I remember their names because they stayed next to my dad. So when I was done with school, I just stayed with my dad because everything was there for me now. You know, my friends. Everything.
So your dad, your biological dad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I stayed there with him. Now, I didn't have to go back to my mom. So at the beginning, I used to go to church and then go to Sunday school and then ran away and not attend church and go back to my dad. And that's what happened. 29 December 1996, Sunday morning, never forget. I don't know the preacher's name. I can't remember. All I remembered was that was the morning I gave my heart to the Lord. Because the guy said, because I'm a public person, I love people around me. I like hosting, even like now. And I was sitting with friends, and then the guy said, one day you're going to stand alone before God, and then you're going to have to give account. There's going to be no one around you. And that's like, like this is my situation. And I got up, came out to the Lord. I can't say to you that like I felt something miraculous happen that day, but now I was going back to my dad's house, so I didn't say anything to him. So then what I did was, when everyone goes to sleep, like in the evening at 9, 10, I would go into the bathroom with my Bible in the Muslim home, and I would read, and I would come back. And then one day, I think it was early in January 97, I think my dad found out the Bible now, it was there, and then he called me and he said to me, "Listen, what's happening?" I said, "No, I gave my heart to Jesus, you know." And then
what was his reaction?
Yeah, so he was sitting with the Bible, and I could see the disappointment. Obviously, you want your kids to follow you, and you know. And anyways, and then what happened was he gave me a choice, and I think that's the best thing that my dad could have done for me. He gave me a choice. He says to me, "Up, you choose. It's either you stay and you become Muslim, you stay in this line, or you take your stuff and you go." And I remember that day, I took 2 plastic bags, and I went to my cupboard, and everything that could fit in those bags, I fit it in there, and I left his house. And it's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "No, I'm going to go to my grandma's house," because it was like a kilometer away, or not even a kilometer. Because my mom and my dad and my grandma stayed like in a 5-kilometer radius. So my dad stayed closer to my grandma. And then when I opened the door, and I stood there with the bags, my grandparents says, "Yeah, we know." It's like, "What do you know?" He says, "No, we've been praying for this day." And they knew that I came back home. But they didn't know I gave my heart to the Lord yet. But they knew. When I opened and I came with my bags, they said, "No, we were praying for that day." And then that was in 96. And remember, I only started playing football in 98.
How old were you then?
I was 18.
Okay.
I was 18. And that's like, you know, in Cape Town, that's like the age that if you don't do anything, you either go full-time into gangsterism or drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and but for those 2 years from 94 to 96, I think that's the years when I was experimenting all these things, and I can't even say it was peer pressure. It was just a decision that I've made. I wanted to smoke, I wanted to steal, I wanted to do all these things.
Yeah.
Wanted to drink. I was a heavy drinker.
Okay.
Not knowing that in my family line, we had lots of drinkers that would drink their families away.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Only when I became 40 again.
But you were headed there. Clearly.
Yeah. So I was heading there. But I thank God that, like God is a true gentleman, He doesn't force us into things. He stands at the door. Revelations 3 verse 20 says He stands at the door and He knocks and He's asking you to come in.
Yeah.
So God doesn't force anyone, and I think that's why for me, even up to today, I was never forced into serving God. It was my choice,
Yeah.
So, and then I started playing for the church. Saturday.
Sundays, okay.
No, because Sunday, if you play Sunday football in Cape Town, you're the devil. You can't do that.
Okay. Yeah.
So I used to play on Saturdays, so on Sundays I can be in church. But what was nice was God was actually building there was a foundation that was laid in those 2 years, from December 96 to December 1998.
Yeah.
Because that's when I signed my first contract for 7 Stars. So in that time, I started to work. I got my license. I worked for the city council. Okay. I played football on a Saturday, Sunday. I became a Sunday school teacher. I became a youth leader on Friday night. So God was building the foundation, because I think He knew what was coming.
Yeah.
No, not I think. He knew what was coming.
He always does.
And then I never wanted to play football. It was never my dream to play football. Never wanted to be a footballer. A lot of people don't believe that, but it was never. I never desired to play football. One day, my uncle Clive Katza drove past Greenpoint Stadium. The old Greenpoint Stadium where Lennox used to train 7 Stars. Used to train outside of the stadium. I think it's next to the electric track now.
Yes,
something like that. Yeah. He drove past, stopped, and then told Kevin, and he says, "Oh, there's a boy that loves to play football at home." It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Anyways, I ended up going on the Saturday as a striker. Because at church I was playing as a striker. I scored every week I would score a hat-trick, whatever.
Okay.
And then what happened was I went for trials on a Saturday as a striker. Never touched the ball. Came back on a Sunday again, striker, never touched the ball. And then 3 days later, I was called by Kevin to say, "Hey, come and play this game. You're playing against Cape Town Spurs. I want you to play in the midfield. And I want you to mark David Mutise."
Okay.
I was like, "Who's David?"
You didn't know who he was?
I didn't know. I didn't want to play football. I didn't know what football was. I didn't even know who Kevin Hunt was. Anyways, so he called me and says, "I want you to play." And I actually played well. I actually marked him out of the game. I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks later, I signed as a left back because Dylan Seppert broke his leg. We played against SuperSport.
Oh, goodness.
Here in Pretoria, he got injured, and then there was 6 games left of that season. I played the last 6 games, and I remembered I got Young Player of the Year for 6 games. 6 games. With Dylan. I said with Dylan. I don't know if Dylan's going to listen to this, but I still have the trophy. I was supposed to give it to him. I took it first.
and you just held on to it.
I still have it today. It's in my mom's house. It's still
you need
today.
to give it to him for a while.
No. It's a long time. But anyways, became player of the tournament.
The season, young player of the
season in 6 games. Played left back, and then and then IS Cape Town happened.
Yeah.
And then you sign for IS Cape Town. You go from wearing tracksuits to wearing suits, and you're wearing these shoes that signs. And
I remember how.
You get
white shirt and all that.
You go to the meetings. You can go to the table nears. You can get pizzas for free, and you can do anything. So, and that went to my head. I started coming in late at home. I didn't take football seriously. I don't think at that time I knew what it was. What it was to be a footballer. And then a year into my IS Cape Town contract, John Comitas called me. At the beginning of the year, they give everyone T-shirts, and if you're in the team, they give you bags and stuff. They skipped me. What's going on?
Yeah.
Because I know I still have a year left, and then they said, "No, John Comitas wants to speak to you." And then I came there, and he said to me, "Listen, we're not going to take you on." And I smiled, because that morning when I left, I remember God said to me, "If one door close, the other one will open." That was my morning scripture devotion.
Yeah.
And then I smiled because it immediately came to me. He says, "Why are you smiling? I just fired you." I said, "No." I said, "God said to me, this probably the door will close.
The other will open.
So when I got home that day, Kevin Hunt was on the phone already 3 times for me. And the next day I went to Hellenic and I signed a 3-year contract from being fired. But then before that, what happened was I also played for in the first division team. I can't even remember what the name of the team was, but for 6 months I played first division.
Okay.
And then God said to me, "I've given you this ability to play football." And he said, "I know you didn't have 14 to 20. I know you had no development.
Yes.
But I've given you this gift to play football, and you need to work hard." Oh, for Avondale, I played for Avondale.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then we missed out on getting promotion to the PSL against Noah Park. We were supposed to win the game. We lost 3-1. I'll never forget.
Yes.
Mark Andrews killed us.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Anderson killed us.
Okay. Oh, he was your goalkeeper.
He was a goalkeeper. So what happened
great
was
Mark
it
Anderson.
was 1-0. And then the ball went over our heads and he caught it, but the player ran on. And then when the play came back, I don't know what the player said to him, and then he pumped him in his penalty.
And then he got a penalty.
And we lost the game 3-1, missing out on promotion.
Yeah,
But anyways, from there then I went on and I went to play for Hellenic for 3 years, and it was probably the most difficult 3 years of my football career, because for 3 years we were fighting relegation.
Oh, yeah.
We were number
Always.
16 because there was 18.
18 teams back then.
So for 2 years it was 16-16, and then when they changed it to 16 teams, we ended up 14th. So for 3 years,
yeah.
But I think I didn't know that God was preparing me for big. But what I've learned there was hard work. I was working very hard, because now at the Hellenic you had to get to your training by yourself. There's no picking up, and all these things. Different to Ajax,
Who owned that club now? The Haji Jackies.
The Duggars, 7-11 years.
Yeah.
So look, obviously there I've learned hard work. There's hard work. There's fruits when you labor, and So obviously I was growing in my Christian walk, and I was also growing now in my football.
Yeah.
And I remember we played Santos at Atlant Stadium. We lost the game 1-0. I was marking Mark Itia.
Oh, yes. A big guy. Yes.
Yeah. And then I remember I passed him on once to the right. I didn't go with him. And then what happened was they played the ball, he headed it back, and they scored. I didn't know that Pitso Mosamani and Kevin and Stan Matthews was in the stands coming to watch me. I didn't know that. So they got the word from Bruce. Bruce Grobler said to them that there's this left-footed player there. And I remember I read it the other day as a devotion at school to the staff at the King's College. And I said to them, I was reading them what Pitso was saying about me. He said, "Skinny guy, I wasn't impressed. Who was this guy?"
Yeah.
And then said, as the game went on, he says he saw that I was a footballer. And that's what he needed, So and then the next day I had a meeting with Pitso, not knowing who Pitso was. Remember, I still
you
didn't
just
want
played,
to,
but
I
you
just
didn't
played, earned a little bit of money and all those things, and then had a meeting with Pitso the next day. It wasn't football. He just said, "Come meet me. Do you have a girlfriend?" I said, "Yes." At the time, it was Adelaide, my wife of 20 years.
Yeah.
That was way back in that time. So I signed for SuperSport, and the last game for Hellenic was against SuperSport. So I was a SuperSport player playing for Hellenic, playing against SuperSport.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you conflict?
So I know I shouldn't say this, but if SuperSport won the game, they would play Champions League the next year. If they lost the game, they would not. So I knew I was on my way to SuperSport. So and we were safe already. Hellenic was safe already. I didn't say I threw the game or anything.
Yeah, no.
But I also knew what was, and I remember the
stake?
game was 1-1. They threw the game 1-1.
Okay, so
And then SuperSport qualified for the Champions League for the first time.
You went into the Champions.
So then I went into the Champions League.
Yeah. Now it's a beautiful story, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, here you are growing in your Christian walk.
Yeah.
You get into football. From my experience of football, football is not a Christian sport. How easy or how hard was it to remain, committed to your Christian walk while you're a footballer?
Yeah. So like I said to you, before I played football, I became a Christian. So I think in that 2 years, I knew that a lot of things will come to an end. I always say this, a lot of things will come to an end, but the thing I don't want to come to an end is my relationship with God. So I always treated it as important.
Yeah.
So even when I went in 2003 to SuperSport, I was there for 2 years on my own. But I knew I wanted to get married to my girlfriend at the time, was Adelaide, my wife now. I knew I wanted to get married. So I made a dedication. I made a decision, and I dedicated myself to staying pure, keeping onto the game, focusing on the game. And I made that decision. And I think that's also probably the second biggest decision in my life, was to get married to someone that would support me. So we got married in 2005, and but we were never flashy. I remember she came when I met her. She was working in Cape Town. She was HR, degree, and I said to her, "You're not going to be one of those footballers' wives that sits at home." I said, "When I met you, you were working, so go look for work." And I'm so glad that happened, because many years later, 14 years later, when I had to retire, 9 years later, because now she was growing in her career and my career was coming to an end. And when they cut my salary, like a third of what I was earning, we could then rely on her salary as a family, So, so I made that decision that I was going to treat my relationship with God more important than football. I always made it more important than football. But at the same time, when I was at football, a lot of people say I was a hard player. I used to kick them, whatever.
Yeah.
But I used to pray for them as well after kicking them. But I've never compromised my religion because of the work that I was doing.
Yeah.
So I remember at 7 Stars, Bruce was mixing Vaseline with burnt paper, and he wanted to put it on our shoes, and I refused. I said no. And then he said, "No, everyone has." I said, "No, then rather take me out of the team." And I remember that was a game against Pirates.
So you said he'd rather not play you.
I said to him, "I would rather not play, but I'm not going to do this. If you want me to do this, I'm not playing." He says, no, it's fine, I respect you. And then he said, "No, you can go." So I was the only one that day whose shoes was not smeared with this thing. Yeah. And then when I got to SuperSport, the same thing, Thomas Marigaki, they were practicing ZCC.
Yeah.
And I got nothing against ZCC. It's just that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the reason was. And also there was burning of stuff and, all this water. And I remembered also, I went to them, I went to Peter and Thomas, and I said, "Listen, I don't know what it is. And can I please be excused?" I said, no, everyone, this is what the club is doing. I said, "Okay, so I remembered, I said, I would rather than not play. Then rather take me out of the team. I will, if I need to go somewhere else, I will go somewhere else, but I'm not going to do this."
Yeah.
And then they went into the room, they came out and they said, "Okay, everyone, you must do this. Ricardo, you don't have to."
How did the others react?
The thing is, I think if I wasn't bringing my part as a footballer, I think they would have, but I think I was there first for training. I used to leave last. I was there. I was working. When I was working, I was working.
Yeah.
And then at the national team as well with Stuart Baxter. Same thing. We couldn't win. ZCC came in, and I said to him,
Brasten was there. That's why.
Yeah, I said, "Coach, this is what I stand for." And again, if you want me to do it, if they want me to do it, or rather take me out, I would rather then let someone else come and play. And say, no, it's fine, you don't have to do it. Yeah. And I've learned that if you don't stand for anything, you're gonna probably fall for everything. So I stood my ground. Yeah. That I remember also when we played. Before I was made captain of SuperSport, that was the time when City came in, and then Temba Nguni broke his ankle against Kaizer Chiefs. We played at Ellis Park.
Okay.
He broke his ankle, and then people started questioning. They said, like, "We're doing all these rituals and things, and whatever you're doing, why are we still getting injured in all those things?" And then the next thing, out of nowhere, Peter said, "Ricardo, rather you pray for us."
Oh yeah.
And that's when the praying started. We used to pray before game and after game. And at the beginning, I used to pray alone, but then God said to me, "But this is not just about this; is about the team
sport."
And then we just prayed Our Father, and that up to today. I don't know if they still do it, but when I left SuperSport in 2012, that is what we were still doing. 9 years later, So so I stood for that, and that then he chose me to be the captain. So again, I knew that football was given to me. But before I was a footballer, I became a Christian. And I knew that football was going to end. And I always said, like I said, I didn't want my religion to end. And when I got married, I said, I don't want to lose my family when I'm done playing. And today I can proudly say I've been married for 20 years. Last week on the 13th of February, it was 20 years.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
Well done,
you.
my brother.
I've got 3 beautiful kids, Aiden, Chloe and Ryan. Chloe just finished matric last year. Aiden's doing matric this year and Ryan's doing grade 7. So I'm not even doing football anymore.
Yeah.
You know, football has given me the platform.
Yes.
But now I'm more in the school environment. I enjoy working with kids in the school because now I realize the importance of education. If you guys ask me if there's any game, I remember the game we played against Free State Stars. It was a horrible game. We lost the game 4-0. 2 of those goals were my mistake. Whatever, it was a bad game. If you ask me if I want to play that game, if I can go back and play a game, I would say no. I would want to go back to doing grade 8. Because now I realize how important schooling is. Because I'm in a school environment, and there's a balance between the two. You know, I could have made better decisions if I was better in my mind with schooling.
Yeah.
Because I was also taken for a ride in the football. I was one of the lowest earning captains in the league.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, when people were earning 200,000, I was like not even a percent, like 10%, whatever, you know, I was earning.
But you didn't know, did you? I mean,
I didn't know.
You were not aware that...
I wasn't aware because also my agent was also part of the club. So when deals were coming, I didn't know about those deals. I only found afterwards.
Okay.
Like I know there was a deal for Sundowns wanted me, Pirates wanted me, Chiefs wanted me. I only found all those things out when I was done playing. And obviously I can't go back.
Of course, yeah.
You know, but I don't have a grudge against anyone. I think it happened, but I said to myself, I'm in a position now to tell other kids. It's tough. I don't want to lie to you. It's tough because, you know, like I always wanted to have a house when I'm done playing, house paid off. And today I don't have a house that's paid off. You know, and then when I look back and I see like, okay, if I had that and this and that, if I was better at not just being educated a little bit better, I would probably have made better decisions.
Yeah.
You know, I probably would have left my agent, get me someone else that would have gotten me these deals and all these things, you know.
Yeah. How far did you go in school?
I finished matric in 95.
Okay.
But it was just to get done.
Yeah.
You know, my dad wanted me to finish school. Like I said, there was no plans to study or anything.
Okay.
So I just wanted to get through the school. I passed. I can probably say I passed all the grades, you know. But there was never decided to study. There was never decided to be anything after that.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, I mean, listen, we speak about your life, you being a Christian, you going through all those things in football. When you look back, your teammates, the people you played with, do you feel you sort of influenced? I mean, you know, God tells us to go out into the world and make disciples of men.
Yeah.
Do you feel through the people you played with, the way you lived, the way you carried yourself, are the people who looked and said, he's different, why is he different? And
yeah, it happened a lot. Even today still, I still have guys in the football that would call me and, you know, just want to spend some time just to chat about things. So what I also decided when I started playing football, and because now I couldn't be at church on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But God said to me that football, I'm going to give it to you as a ministry as well. So when you make sure that when you go out there, when you have interviews, you speak about me. When there's opportunities to pray for people. I remember I played for Peter Kwabani. He had to go for a knee operation.
I remember that, yeah.
And then he didn't go. There was one that he didn't go for that he had to go for. And I prayed for him, and God healed him, you know. So, and there's stories of families that even in the football guys where we pray with families and would go and support them, and you know. But I was very careful of how I was doing it because I didn't want to be judgmental, because you don't know what people go to get to a certain point.
Yeah,
and I was never in a position where I said that will never happen to me.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's a lot of things that actually happened with me that happened with footballers. But I never said it. I'm glad that I never said it because you don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
So I do believe I did make a difference. I did make an impact. I remember this when we won the ABSA Cup in 2005. They called me. They said, we're going to make a circle. There's a photo of it. And then they put the trophy number in. They said to me, go and kneel there and you're going to pray for us. You know, that was in 2005 when we won the ABSA. Yeah. So, you know, those moments and I always use football or the platforms that were given me to make sure that God was going to get the honor. When we won the league the first time in 2008 in Bloemfontein, So I had a T-shirt that says Jesus is alive.
Yes.
And I remembered when we won it in our excitement and all those things, they said, oh, you the one. And I knew I was going to be the one that's going to lift the trophy. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put this T-shirt on. And I remember Coltrane said to me, no, you can't do that.
You wanted the club one?
Yeah, you want the club. I said, then fine. I said, then take someone else. Then I would rather not do the trophy. And they said, no, that's fine. You can go. And if for that year, that is one of the main photos.
Yeah, I remember.
I stand with the
used
trophy. I got the black T-shirt and said, Jesus alive, because I just wanted to give him the glory.
Yeah, sure.
For what he's done for me, you know. And yeah, so I've always used those moments to make sure that I was gonna proclaim the gospel in that way, that even on the sports field,
yes,
you can represent God. Yeah, and then you can still be hard and still tackle and still get a red card. I got a red card, you know, and I remember that was just when you came back from America.
Oh, yeah,
I was tired. Yes, I was tired. I wasn't gonna play that Saturday. Coach wanted me to play. And I remember I played against Fadley David, and he was elbowing everyone. And then when he came to me, he elbowed me. And as I landed, I swing my arm. And then the ref saw me. You know how it goes. Yeah. The ref sees the one that reacts. And then I got a red card. Sent me off. We lost the game. And then I got a call, and I still don't know who that person is up to the day. I got a call, and this guy hammered me. He says, I can't believe it. You, Christian, born again, you got a record. Oh, man. I look up to you. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, and then, okay, so there's actually people that's looking.
So they following. So you know that.
So I've always been aware of those moments.
Yeah. I mean, your journey in football, you've had moments where almost, God came to you to let you know what's coming.
Yeah.
You've played for the national team. Yeah. I remember we went to the, what were they calling it? The CONCACAF? Was it called the Gold Cup?
The Gold Cup.
The Gold Cup in 2005 in the States. You were captain there. Yeah. You tell me that you knew way before.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I knew I was going to be the captain.
Yes.
Because at the time the church I was attending in Pretoria, Hatfield Christian Church, Pastor Francois and his wife, Ansa, his wife. So she just called me randomly the one morning, and she said to me, God said that you're going to be the captain of the national team. It's like, and it's going to be somewhere. It was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then 4 or 5 weeks later, I got announced as the captain to take the team to the Gold Cup. And that itself, that was just a super awesome moment for me as a player. Not everyone gets to represent the country. They called us the C team.
I remember I was with that trip. I was with you guys on that trip. You were not. It wasn't the best.
C team. There was 7 SuperSport players in the team because the big players at the time didn't want to go.
Yes.
But it was a super awesome moment for me as a captain. Small things. I flew upper class for the first time in my life.
Nice.
It was me and Coach Stewart, the only 2 tickets that was upper class. So we
really?
From South Africa to London, and then we went to the UK and then to America. So my whole trip was upper class. It was upper class. And I enjoyed that moment. And then I remembered also when we landed back from the Gold Cup, people were they were at the airport, and I think it was U Day or that weekend of U Day.
Okay, yes.
And then they said to us, oh, Mandela's asking for the captain of the national team. I was like, oh, that's me,
Yeah.
And then it was me and Lucky Uhati. He was the vice captain. So what happened was we were driven to a place. I still don't know where the place is. And there was this helicopter. And then they said, no, you must get in. So we got into this helicopter. And then the next thing, Mandela comes.
Goodness.
And he sits next to me, and he's holding my hand. I wasn't holding his hand. He wanted to hold my hand. Anyway, we flew to a
in the same helicopter with Mandela?
Yeah, we flew to a U-Day rally or somewhere, came back, and then I remember you were rugby players from the Stormers, 2 of them, can't remember their name, but then we took a photo before I left. There was a photo, and that photo became part of my book, and and all those things. So for me, that just the whole experience was so good. But like you said, my pastor's wife, Ansa, told me, before that God is going to take you and you're going to be the national team captain.
Yeah. I mean, 2005 Gold Cup, I held a grudge against you. I do. We were playing Panama, and we just needed to beat Panama.
Yeah.
And we were going to go play the US, I think, in New York. I mean, we were all there as journalists, excited that there's a trip to New York. Ricardo Katza goes and misses the final penalty, and we don't go to New York. You owe me a trip to New York, brother. What's your memory of that match, though?
Yeah, look, like I said to you earlier, that I was more upset with myself for not taking the shot in the game when I was just outside the box.
You had an opportunity to score.
If I took a shot, I was going to score because the goalkeeper was on the other side, and then I somehow I passed, and then the game ended 1-1. And then obviously it's the first time I don't know why it changed. It's the first time that I actually changed my side. I usually go to the goalkeeper's right, and that day I decided I'm going to go to the left, and the goalkeeper went that way. And then I remembered when I missed the penalty, and I don't know if you or anyone that was there, as I was running back, I looked up and I just said, thank you, God, because I knew I was going to get hammered as well. You know? But I just it was a penalty, but then we still ended up going to...
You guys went to New York. We didn't.
Because New York was... I think they planned until the final.
Okay, yeah.
And we were spending 2 days in New York, so it was a nice experience for me and for the players. That was what... And what was also nice was we were 7 SuperSport players.
Yeah, so
it was like this team that was going,
so
it was good.
You didn't play a lot of matches for Bafana Bafana, but I mean, you captained them at a huge stage, the Gold Cup. When you look back at your career in general, do you feel there are things you could have achieved that you didn't?
Yeah, look, obviously I had to... Once I got into the football, when I came to SuperSport, I had this desire to play for the national team. It came. I wanted to play in the World Cup. We missed out in 2006. We were supposed to beat Burkina Faso or something like that. We lost the game 3-1. I came on at halftime. It was already 2-0. We made it 2-1, and then we lost the game 3-1. And then, and obviously then we missed out on the...
Going to Germany.
And I was part of the team because I was going to be part. And then 2010 was towards the end of my career. I got injured, but I was never in the plans. I stopped playing for the national team. I think my last game was against the USA at Ellis Park. We lost the game 1-0. I got a 4 out of 10. I got booed.
Oh, shit.
Everyone, my wife was in the crowd. I was taken off. I don't know what ball it was. I think it was a Tabolani or something.
The one that just,
And then I remembered someone switched play, and then I was behind the ball, like my feet, I was just about to control, and then poof, it went
just
past.
Changed.
And then they... but a lot of people don't know is that I didn't know I was going to play that day. I was called on the Friday. No one spoke to me at the national team. Saturday morning, when we saw the team, I said, I'm in the team.
Because who was the coach then?
It was the Brazilian, Carlos Alberto.
Oh, it wasn't San...
Okay. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Carlos, And then no one spoke to me, and then I'm in the team anyways. And I played. I played left back. Brady Cornell was injured. There was another left back that was injured, and I was there. Okay, I said with Kune. No one said anything to me, So they took me off, and then while the game was still on, I was told, "Hey, come, you need your flight is leaving," because the next game was against Canada in Durban, and I had to go and take an earlier flight because I don't think they planned for me to be there.
To play, okay.
So then the next thing, I'm on my way to Durban. The team was still playing. Yeah, and then I ended up waiting, and then obviously I didn't play in the Canada game.
So essentially they took you out not because you were playing badly, but more because you had to go to your flight.
Thinking about it, if you can look at it. But I did get a 4 as well. I did get a 4.
10, 4 is not bad.
But there's a lot of those stories where I was called, because I remembered we played Pirates. I think that Wednesday night I got a 9 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then we were off that weekend. And, and then I got called on, and I play. And I was glad I still have the T-shirt.
Yeah, of course.
I take it as lessons. I think that God won't put you through something if he doesn't think that you can handle it with him.
Yeah.
And I think if that happens to any other player that wasn't grounded, they would have probably stopped playing football.
Yeah.
Ended up still playing for another 2 years. Obviously, I got injured. In 2011, I got injured. Or in 2009, I got injured. And then the injuries just kept coming. Because what was happening was I was working so hard to get back. And I wasn't really healing properly.
Okay, yes.
And my body, I was like fit. I was like, And then I remembered, that was the end of my career towards 2012 when I retired.
Yeah. Now you speak about a book. You've written a book. How was that? How was that experience of doing a book?
Yeah, in 2013, just a guy that came to me and he said, look, I've written this guy's book and whatever. I said, yeah, okay, let me write the story, let me write the book and all those things. And I wrote the book, Ricardo Katza, Family, Faith, Football. And it was in that order. Family, faith, football was last because I knew football was going to stop. Faith was first, and then I got a family, and then I got, football. A money lesson that 100,000 rand money lesson that I don't want to learn again. Because that's what it cost me. It cost us as a family 100,000 for 1,000 books. Now, if you write books, you know that the sums doesn't make up.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
And someone just took advantage of me. I think we were so caught up in the moment. We were excited as a family. We done something. But then many years later, and I'm so grateful for my wife that she said to me, but I was never at peace with this book. But because you were so happy, I allowed you to go. Yeah, and you supported me. And I was like, oh, you should have told me. Because we were so caught up in the moment as a family. It was nice. We know when he signed the book and all those things. But I'm grateful that even in moments that when I was off track, my wife would bring me back and she would tell me. And it's good to have someone that you can rely on, and we can work together.
Yeah.
So the book was a big learning curve, but it was also a big blessing. Everyone that has read the book told me it's like I was sitting next to you, and it's like you're reading it's like you're talking to me. Even when I was reading the book, after the first 5 pages, I would put it down because like I can know what's coming.
And
then the one day I read the book done in 3 hours, not even 3 hours, 2 hours I read the book. So. Yeah. It was never my plan to be a footballer. It was never my plan to write a book.
Yeah, but
but it happened.
Just God's plan.
It happened, yeah, God, and there's a lot of testimonies that came from that.
You work at a school now.
Yeah.
What exactly do you do? What's the King's College?
Yeah, so I'm at the King's College in Bryanston. So NCCB, New Covenant Church in Bryanston. They own a school. It's on the same property, so we call it the campus. So it's got a church and a school. Pastor S and Pastor Nadine, which is our leaders. So they run the campus, and then we've got people working with them, with this vision that they have. So I'm the head of sports at the King's College. I work with about 10 people with me in the office, and we got 9 different sporting codes. So there's football, there's netball, there's softball, cricket, swimming, athletics, cross country, there's hockey, a little bit of hockey in the prep. So we have all the sporting codes, and then I have people that hits up. So what we've done, I've got people that hits up that sporting code.
Okay.
And then I make sure that they do what they have to do. But again, it's the first time that I'm at a place where I've got all 3 things in one place. So when I was at SuperSport, there was the sports. When I went to Grey College, there was the school and there was sports. And now that I'm at the King's College, there's the sports, there's church, and there's school. So it's like a 3-in-1.
Yeah.
God has brought me there. My kids, my daughter matriculated last year, Chloe.
Same school.
Aiden is doing matric this year, and then Ryan is doing grade 7. Okay. So hopefully then he goes into the high school. So I'm there now. I'm the head of sports, but I'm also serving in the church. I serve at the coffee shop, which is at Echo. I serve there. I'm part of the flow team. We bring people in, we greet them.
Yeah, sure.
So it's nice. You get to see people that you see on campus. So I'm so excited with God. I never wanted to come here as well. I was at Grey College for 4 years.
Oh, so you didn't want to come back to
Yes, I didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
I was at Grey College, and my kids got free education at Grey, so I told myself my boys would be there until they're doing matric, and God knocks on my heart and he says, hey,
this is where I want
to come back. And it was confirmed with so many things. And so we made a decision as a family to come back. Look, ever since I've been back in Johannesburg, it's 4 years now, there's been a lot of clubs and things that came up. And I just felt like it was a distraction to what God wants to do for us as a family.
Okay,
Kings. I'm in a good space. My heart is in a good space. I get to learn to work with people, with parents. That's very demanding. But it's good, But I've learned not to take things personal. I listen to them. And then when I feel like it's something that can help, and then we add it or we don't add it. So I'm the head of sports. I'm quite excited about that. I think what's nice as well, I felt a bit unqualified to be in these educational spaces.
Of course, yeah.
And then God said to me that, but if I've called you, I will make sure that you are qualified to be there. And the work that I've been doing over the last 4 years, first year when I got there, I was like, wanted to prove to everyone I can do this. And then God said, no, take a step back. I want to teach you something. Because it's the first time also that I'm in a space where I'm a leader, and it's not in the secular space, and it's not in the sports, but it's on campus. So there's characters, and there's different characteristics and things that God wanted to fix.
Yeah.
And I was at a conference last year, and there's this thing that we do. They say, what is your biggest takeaway? Okay. And the biggest takeaway for me was that God doesn't fix problems, but he heals people. And once he heals you, then those problems that you see is not problems anymore. So then you've got a better way of seeing it differently.
Yeah.
So I think I'm in a good space. I do believe I'm in a good space with myself, with my family, with my wife, and my kids. You know, we've gone through a tough time. There was also a time when I walked out of my family. I don't talk about this a lot, but I think it's important also to share this with people as well. You know, so when I was in Bloemfontein, I decided I applied for this post at Grey College. I wanted to get away from my family. They didn't know that I applied for this, but when I had to come for the interview, they couldn't find me, and they called my wife, and that's how she found out that I was going. So when I got the job, she packed up and we moved as a family. And when I was in Bloem, I walked out on them. I went to stay somewhere else, and then COVID happened.
Okay.
And COVID, I know for COVID, a lot of people say that it wasn't good, but for me, I think it was the best thing that happened. It saved my life because I was supposed to move out the next day on the Monday, and COVID started on the Sunday, so I couldn't move. I ended up staying, and looking back now, God. I know the number 5 is big, grace and double grace. We stayed, every house that we stayed in, either had a 5 in, number 50 or number 55. So 55 means double grace. So before we came back, we stayed in a house, 55, double grace. And God restored us as a family. And then he brought us, because he knew that coming back to Joburg is just going to be busy again and all those things. So God has really been a part of our journey. And we want to continue to do that as a family. You know, my relation with my kids have been restored. Yeah, one of my kids never spoke to me because obviously they knew what was happening. Kids grow up, they know what's going on. My daughter was quite patient with me, and but son Aiden is like me. Like if you go the other way, we don't talk to you.
Sure.
But I'm so grateful that God has restored that part of my life. And even with Ryan, my younger one, he had a kidney. Nephrotic syndrome, where your kidney doesn't keep the proteins, it goes out, so then you swell up and again. Okay. And then God also healed him from that. My wife just decided to done with his medication and stuff. We're gonna pray for him, gonna anoint him, and he's there. So all those things. Like if I look back, we celebrated our 20th anniversary. We didn't do a big thing, but what we did was we made this collage of photos of over the years. And my wife, she knows that I like to go big on these occasions, but I couldn't, for certain reasons. And then she said to me, I'm glad that we are still together as a family. And that for me just made my year so far, So I'm so grateful for people in my life and, family members back in Cape Town, my uncle Ricardo Katza, my mom, my dad, when we go to Cape Town, those are the first places we go to, So you can hear that for me, football is distance, but I might go back into football once my kids are done with school. I would like to have my own thing.
What would you like?
I'd like to have a football school, like a small football school, but I need to hear from God. I need to know if that is what God wants me to do.
And you'll know. I mean, he's been talking.
I also would like to be at the institution, like a university or whatever, because now I don't just want to do football. I want to do something that's more balanced, because now I'm doing education and sports, which is good. So I'm excited. I know God has been gracious to me. A lot of footballers, we hear a lot of athletes when they're done playing,
doors close,
and things change and all these things, But I'm glad that God prepared me, because in 2012 when Ryan was born, I wanted to be more at home than what I wanted to be at work. And I remembered my last year, I played for 30 minutes because I was working so hard to get back. And when I got my chance to play against Black Leopards at Atterisville, 30 minutes into the game, I was having the game of my life. 30 minutes into it, I pulled a muscle in my calf. but it never healed properly, and that was the end of my career.
Yeah.
The last year I played for 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
You know, so there's a chapter in my book that says 222, 9 years and 30 seconds, 30 minutes. So that's a chapter in my book. So the 222 games, if I played 4 more games, I was going to have the club record. But then I was somehow kept on the bench for 6 months plus. You know,
who has the record? Who holds the record?
it was now it's Ranwan.
Okay, but before that,
It was Tico Lawrence.
Oh yes, I remember.
Yes, it was 225.
Okay.
And I was on the verge of breaking that record, and then all of a sudden, Glenn Salm was playing centre back while I was on the bench. I was super fit, and people would ask me, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Glenn was a striker.
He was a striker,
Yeah.
and then we played against Amazulu, and I remember the coach said on the day, Coach Gavin said, Glenn is the best centre back that you have.
You're like,
I'm
really?
I'm sitting here. But anyways, and then 9 years, I had an option here in my contract for SuperSport. It was going to make me 10 years as a player. And then I remember when I had the meeting with them, they said to me, we're not taking the option. I said to them, but guys, I've got 4 more games, and I've got, like, if you give me 1 year, I will make 10 years as a player. No, don't worry, we'll give you, the benefit game. I said, benefit game is for 10 years, it's not for 9 years. No, don't worry. The coach, this one doesn't want to. I said, but what do you say? I said, and this is what I said to him. I said, I'll take half of the money that's in the contract, just give me 6 months, whatever. No. So that's the 222 games, 9 years, and the 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Tough though. I couldn't watch
I
football.
can imagine. Yeah, for a while.
I couldn't watch football
Because you missed out on such milestones as so close. But you're a Christian and you know that nothing surprises God.
Yeah. Also, what you guys don't know, I don't know if you know, and I have it on my phone. I got a contract from FC Cologne in Germany, a 2-year contract. So what happened was, just before we won the league, just before Coach Kevin came, I had an option because I changed my agents, and I had an option to go to Germany. But then what happened was the club at the same time. So my trial was for 2 weeks.
Okay.
But at the same time, the club was going to Australia. It was just a pre-season.
Yeah.
He said, no, you must go to Australia because you're the captain. You must speak for us. I said, yeah, but guys, I've got a trial. I've got a 2-week trial from. No, you have to go. And ended up going to Australia. When I came back to South Africa, in that week was the last week of the transfer window in Europe. And then I said to them, I'm still going. So I ended up going. I trained. I came there. There was 3 days before the transfer window closed. I played against Galatasaray 1 half at left back. It wasn't a good game because I wanted to be a centre back at the time. And then what happened was the club offered me the contract, or the club gave me an offer, but then the coach said no because the coach already had someone else in mind.
Oh,
3 million euro player. I only came in at 300,000 euros.
Yeah.
So they already had someone.
Somebody
Still have it on my phone. But anyways, when I got back, I signed a 3-year contract with SuperSport, and then we won the league 3 years in a row.
3 years in a row. So that's another. One door closes, the other opens, as you says. Yeah.
So, but I'm glad that I wasn't angry with myself. Maybe at people, but at myself I wasn't angry because I knew at the time, so many years later, that God has given me the ability to play football. I played against some of the best players. Knowledge Masona, probably the best striker that I played against.
Yeah.
Probably the best player that I've played with, Teko Mutise at club level.
Teammate, yeah.
Stephen Pienaar at national team level. I played with my first game. I played with Hans Fong, Benny McCarthy, all these big players. Nasir Morris, first time I fly to Cape Verde, we won the game 2-1. I've played with players that was 10 times better than me. But I think God has given me the gift and the gift of hard work as well. I think that kept me through. I remember my first day at training at SuperSport in 2003, in June 2003. We were doing pre-season. Myself and Daniel Matau came from Hellenic.
Yeah.
And we were doing this 8 laps. So there's a track, there's 8 laps. So you start on the outside lane, you run 400 meters, and then you come to 7. Then you come inside. Hey, Daniel Matau came last, I came second last. That day, it was a Monday, I said to myself, I will never come last again. And then we did the same test on the Wednesday, and I came 5th.
Nice.
Yeah, I came 5th. And that's when I knew I'm with better players. The standard has
moved
I've
up,
got a better coach. No disrespect to the coaches that I had.
Course, yeah.
You know, I'm with Pizzo Mosamani at his prime, not at his prime,
But when he was still also very ambitious, working
very
hard.
ambitious, yes.
Yeah. I know of a story where you speak of how he influenced just how you looked at things. You bought a new car, and he was saying, "Where's the house?"
I won't forget that morning when I got my car. I was standing at the robot, about to take the turn, and he was coming from the other side, and it was green for him.
Yeah.
And I knew he was gonna say.
So
he looked, he saw me, and then I don't know what I did that morning at training. He says, "Yeah, because you got this because you bought a new car." And then he says, "Did you buy a house?" He said it in front of everyone. I was like, "Oh." He says, "You need a house. You can't be buying cars." He says, "Because if you have a house, you can also buy TSTV because you need to watch your games."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And now someone was looking after me.
Yeah.
Off the field.
Yeah, that's good.
And then also for some players, they had to add landlines in. Because if you call you, it says, "Hey, where are you?" And that's where camping started at SuperSport. Okay. Because players were not sleeping the night before and what. So you would call them, says, "Where are you?" "Ricardo, where are you?" I says, "No, coach, I'm at home." "Okay, put your cell phone down. I'm going to call in the house phone and your wife must pick up." That's what used to happen. So he did it. Now when I look back, it was because he cared about you. No, I had a lot of great coaches, and no disrespect to any coach that I had, but I think the coach that taught me about life. You know, Coach Gavin is all about it's winning.
Yeah.
Gavin taught me how to win, how to win games.
Yeah.
You know, we'd win the league that 3 years. We 1-0, but we won. You know, but Pizzo taught me to be a holistic person. And it's now, so many years later, now that I'm in school, it's a holistic development. You know, you teach the kids that as much as your skill is there, but you also have a physical part, there's a mental, there's a social part, and there's a spiritual side. So there's this balance of things that you need to do. So I'm so grateful for all the coaches that I had. And, you know, obviously I still, like I said, about a year ago, I was with Pizzo when he came back. Before he left again, and I spent with my whole Christmas, we were there with my family.
Yeah, with him.
You know, and it was so nice. You know, we didn't talk about football.
Okay.
You know, but it was nice just to be there after so many years. And I remember in 2003, the first Christmas, he also invited me to his house when he was still staying in a 2-bedroom house. You know, now he's got this massive house. Anyways, and so many years later, he invites me back with my wife, same girlfriend that was there, with my wife, and now with my 3 kids. You know, so I'm quite excited for people in my life that has helped me, and guys like you know, people that has put us out in the media. You know, I know sometimes we don't want to talk to you because our stories get twisted when it goes on.
Yeah,
to the
I never twisted anybody's stories,
saying,
but I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I was also very careful. I enjoy doing interviews like this where I can speak and, you know, and people can hear this is what I've said.
Yeah.
But I've also never shied away from doing those interviews where I know someone's going to write about me and all those things. So, you know, and I'm so grateful that after all these years that I can still be called into an interview like this. And speak about my experiences and what God has done for me. Whether it's in football, after football, you know, all these things.
Yeah. Listen, like I said at the beginning, you are one of those players who always stood out for me. You had the talent, but I think just your life, the way you lived it, the way you shared your stories, and I said it's very rare that you find a lot of us Christians, we are Christians here, but you know, that whole thing of being out there, because it's people, Jesus went out and said, let's go make disciples, and I believe you've really made disciples, and may he continue to bless you, my brother, and thank you so much for making time for Inside SA Soccer.
It's such a nice interview. I so enjoyed it, that I can share my story and not, you know, there was no limitations on what I could say, and it's always nice because then I get to speak from my heart. You didn't tell me to prepare for anything, so I came here knowing that it's a moment that God has created for me, you know, and I pray that God will bless your station as well, you know, your ministry and what you guys are doing here, that more and more things can come out where people need to know, you know. It wasn't always nice for me. Like, I don't hate is a strong word, but there's some people that just took advantage of me. I should have done better. I should have stood up, you know. You know, as a Christian, sometimes you stand back and God will know. Sometimes there was a time when Jesus flipped the table.
took a whip and
he flipped the table, you know, showing the human side and all these things. So, you know, so I'm grateful for moments like this. And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed myself in this interview.
Thank you, my brother. That was Ricardo Katza. As I said, a Christian first, a father, a husband, a former player, a former captain, a winner. Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside SA Soccer with me, Brad Jakes, here on Omnisports. Let's meet again next time. This was Blast from the Past. Thank you.
Listen to
This is a brave man.
Inside SA Soccer with Brad Jakes, exclusive to Omnisport, where Africa comes to play.
Now that's a garage match.
Listen live now and on demand at omniaudio.africa.